It's Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple. I want to speak on the current climate that we're currently living in, having had, an intense 2 years of COVID and restrictions and disagreements with people we love, like two different sides of the coin, one believing the medical and the government, and the other refusing to believe that the government had our best interests at heart and that nature is always the winner. And, that can even be too simplistic a statement to say with regards to what's gone on over the last 2 years. But my current and my own ideology is always been that nature heals, and that wherever there is something in our collective, there is a herb, a medicine that will help and support us through that. I am not against the medical system. The medical system is fantastic and is there as, for me, the last resort whenever I can't seem to heal something quick enough, or that the medicines aren't working on me for whatever reason. I will then go into the medical system, and I am very, very, aware of the times that the medical system has saved my life once even. So this is not against the medical system, but rather as an approach to being more connected to our environment and to our world and to what the world offers us. We know that the more we become disconnected from our environment, from our world, the harder life gets and the more ravaging the world becomes. And that has always been proven through time and through many prophecies, that the world will become a ravaged place when we lose connection. And connection from what? We all worship different things, don't we? It can be Mother Nature, we can worship through religion, but connection's really important. What is the bigger thing that you connect to? And I've often taught this in many of my podcasts or workshops about becoming a connected person. How do you connect to something bigger than you that amplifies your own soul and the reason for you being here on earth? And that question is really key when we think about what's going on in the world right now. Why are we here? What is our purpose? What are we doing? To me, life seems this big, mystical experience. It's like a puzzle. We have to work out our way through it. It feels like a huge experiment with life force and behavior, and how our consciousness creates the world around us. And that is actually what has happened. Our behaviors, our consciousness, the level that we operate from has created the world that we see. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday who said, yeah, I know about the collective consciousness and how it operates. I mean, the collective consciousness is every single person in this world connected together. We create a force field. But she said, I always thought when something bad happened, that was somebody else. It wasn't me. But of course, we contribute to the good that happens in the world, and we contribute to the bad that happens in the world. We really all want to look at what happens in the world that's good and how we contribute that. Of course we do. We all want to be good, really. That's the root of us as human. We want to be good. We want to be doing good on this world. But the truth is, that isn't how we actually are as humans. We do have the bad. What I call in the Jungian terminology is the shadow. And the shadow is a really big trickster. The shadow will always be evasive. It will always hide from us. We will not want to see the shadow in us. We won't want to look at what's bad in us. And of course, that's why in the collective, the shadow, the bad, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because it wants to show us where we're not looking. It wants to show us, you need to fix this. This is what's out of harmony. This is what's out of balance. And that happens always through nature, doesn't it? If there's something out of balance, it will be really shown to you by something bad. So, for example, I was in the garden the other day and struggling with an infestation of aphids on my vegetables. And I know that the aphids aren't the problem. Actually, the ecosystem's the problem. We're losing the cycle of things that would come, the ladybirds that would come and eat the aphids. So it's not always about us taking as control. It's about coming into balance. Like, where am I out of balance? What needs to be brought into this ecosystem, which could be your life, your family, that would bring in more balance, that would allow more of a natural flow. And I always see that as, you know, the bigger the biosystem, the garden here, the more plants we get, the more food we grow, the bigger the aphids and the pests and problems come, because that's life. And the same with us through our life. The more we take on, the more we do, the bigger the problems. And that's why the ancients always went to that simple, basic life, just simple life, because the bigger we become, the more problems we have. And that's what we're facing right now in our world. We've become so big. We've taken up so much space. We have done that in a very disconnected way. Every purchase we make is not thought about. Everything we buy creates an impact on the world around us. Everything we eat has an impact on the world around us. And we've all become disconnected from that. And that's where this time will try to take us to. Remember the lockdowns and how we were caught up in our homes and how good it felt to be free again, to go and take coffee or just to not wear the mask. And, you know, that is the taste of what comes after we've been held back from things. And I know the lockdown really made a lot of people readdress their life. This was a time that we as a family really superly bonded. We grew food together, we built together, we spent time together. We have become really close as a family due to that time. And of course, there were things that we missed, going for coffee and all of those things are small. What we missed was freedom, the human right to be free, to go where we choose, when we choose. That is a basic human freedom, and it was taken away. So as we move on into this year, I already know that I'm already feeling the things that are coming and seeing in snapshots through my clairvoyancy and in my dreamscape, certain things that will come to us. And I am trying to be present in the moment, enjoying the freedom I have, appreciating that freedom really well. Also being angry that people have the right to take my freedom away, and it's a human right. And also thinking about how in this moment I can prepare and become simple and become more connected to the land, more connected to Creator, and just addressing those things that have disconnected me. And so much has been shown to me. I made a post yesterday, you know, even in spiritual circles, there's a huge amount of disconnection. You know, there's stuff needed to be done in our communities. People needed to be helped. Hiding away on a retreat and, you know, it's not the answer at the moment in our collective. Yeah, we work with spirit and we work with the divine, and I'm the first to promote magic and the spirits and the divine spirits, but I work with them in a very grounded and real way. I talk to the spirits as I'm planting vegetables. I'm making medicine should we in our community need it in the future. It's about bringing it into the real time. It's about looking at the message that the world is trying to scream at us and say, how am I colluding with this, making this happen? Or how can I help in this moment? How can I become more real? How can I get into community more? Are what we're doing, is it really helpful? Are we imagining it? Do we want to imagine it because we don't want to face the reality out there? I have a position in my work where I face the reality. I am dealing with people who are sick from the vaccine. I'm dealing with children who have had repercussions from the through blood through the vaccine, and it's not about being I don't want to make this about being pro or anti-vaccine, but the truth is, and the reality is, if people actually face it, that we have a problem. We have issues with monkeypox and HIV, which is in some of the vaccines. We know that the chimpanzee virus is in a couple of brands of the vaccine. And it's not about like, I told you so at this point. It's about, okay, here we are. What do we do about this? How do we make people heal from this? How do we look after ourselves without living in fear? And this is the bit that I wanted to really get to. It's the living in fear bit. This is a war upon humanity. And maybe it's our own war. Maybe it's self-created. Maybe it's a war that's been created by the elites to, get rid of certain amounts of population. That's one theory. But the truth is, the war starts internally with yourself, with your own psyche, with your own psychology. If you get trapped in a program of fear, then that is very detrimental to you and to the rest of society. So I have already produced a fear meditation. On my YouTube, it's accessible there, where I talk about how you actually deal with fear. Like, you feel the fear and you admit it. I'm scared. Like, I am scared of getting the virus. I am scared of getting ill from the vaccine. I am scared of being rejected from society because I haven't had the vaccine. I am scared because the world is a scary place. We have to admit it. We have to sit down with ourselves and say, what am I fearing at the moment? And I can honestly tell you, there are, as much as I see, as much as I'm positive, as much as I know I was born to live through this time, I recognize the fear. What if we don't have food? What if we get ill? What if the world stops us living the same way we've been used to? All of those fears are real in me. And instead of hiding from them, I acknowledge them. And when I've acknowledged them, I can say, okay, so how's this fear making me act? So, for example, I read a psychological paper the other day, which was saying that people that still wear the mask have something, that they need to investigate in their psychology. And that's because there's a fear, obviously, of the illness, and going to the fear and then rationalizing the fear. So, okay, what is the potential threat? What's the problem with me? Do I have like an autoimmune? Is there something that really is, or am I just scared? So I'm putting it on and I'm keeping an energy of fear and an energy of control and an energy that there's still things still going on in the collective, and it's worth investigating in all our behaviors. So what behavior are you exhibiting in your fear? Are you drinking more? Are you hiding? Are you denying? Are you angry? What is your fear producing in your life? And have you really acknowledged the fear that you are in as the world operates at the level it is? There's been many things going on in the media. I don't have a TV, and I advocate for everyone to get rid of their TVs. It is a psychological weapon. It is something that brainwashes people. It has a very dark hidden agenda to sell and to manipulate your mind, really. And all social media does. And I'm not being holier than thou. I am always on social media with my work and what I do with people. So I am also guilty of, scrolling or looking at things that create fear in me. So just to be aware of where the sources of fear are coming from and how you can eradicate them without, being outside of what's going on, being in touch with what's going on, but not in a fearful way, because it can be really damaging to be in cycles of listening to the same worrying scenarios over and over again. And as all the news has inflated recently, we are moving towards what I always predicted was a one world. And the one world is happening in the most recent days with the WHO, interacting with countries, trying to get certain countries to sign over the health policies. So basically what happens in a situation of crisis is no longer dictated by the country, but by the WHO. And we all know that Bill Gates owns The Who, and that is very dangerous ground to be on with a man who has a background in computer science, basically, and is a billionaire, but has no, ethics or connection to the world and what the world needs. And yeah, I don't need to go on there. You know how frightening that is. So we're in a really big transformation time in humanity. And I said to my son the other day, I wonder if my parents felt like this when like the internet was coming out and credit cards, because don't forget, every cycle that we live in, the new always feels really frightening and way out of your scope. So I do know part of that is happening, is that there's a fear as the new comes in. And I also know that the new don't feel good. But however, we are here at this time to live through this. Our own being is here to play a part in it. And just ask yourself, what part are you playing in this? Are you just being passive and going with whatever happens? Are you realizing the nature of what's happening is because of our collective shadow and our own behavior? I think it's a really good time for conscious growth, for bringing out of the unconscious mind all the things that you don't dare think about or want to see, because ultimately doing that will evolve us as human beings, and evolution happens whether we like it or not. Part of being conscious is my work, and I love to bring the unconscious into consciousness, and I do that within all the groups that I facilitate in. If this is really striking a chord with you about like, who am I and why am I here and what part do I have to play in this and what's not conscious in me and how do I collude with what's going on and how can I change and transform and be living in this time like whole, solid, enjoying the moment, being connected while all this goes on, then I open up a membership monthly group on Thursday called Conscious Creators. And I invite you all in there. I will be setting psychological applications. They're like little meditations and tasks that you do to unroot the unconscious matter in your mind. Meditations, transmissions, ceremony, ritual. I'll be adding it all in there. And I really hope that everyone who gets involved or listens to these podcasts comes in and be part of this community, because I'd really like this community to be like a full group of people taking responsibility and ownership and being a really positive part of this transformation as we move through another evolutionary cycle. So thank you for all listening, and I hope to get your attention again soon. Bye for now.